Alright, let's continue playing Final Fantasy VII, where we last left off. We are going to be heading over to a new area in the scene. This is basically Sector 7. We'll be entering Tifa's bar, or rather Barrett's bar, but I call it Tifa's bar because obviously she resides in this particular area. But this is where we meet up with Tifa in general. Is one of the next couple of main characters in this story. And we're going to be meeting up with Marlene as well. She's also another character that you meet up in this particular area. Marlene is Barrett's daughter. And yeah, that's pretty much what happens in this particular scene. We get to meet up with them, and of course we scare Marlene away, which is not a good way to start. I guess we're so cold that we scare her off. Welcome home. All right. And we are. I guess we'll go with yes. And let's see. The Every decision that you make in the game is very crucial, and this is of course introducing the main character Tifa. We can always change her name, but I like to keep it consistent. But yeah, every decision in Final Fantasy VII is crucial. I'm gonna give the flower to Tifa, and of course that's crucial for the whole dating scenario in the game. But every decision is crucial. Crucial, crucial, crucial. And as soon as we're about to leave, oh, he gets Marlene, and everybody's happy so far. And of course, this is the bar setting that we're in. There's a pinball machine. It's dark. I mean, they live very interesting conditions in Sector 7. They're kind of like a little bit good, but a little bit bad at the same time. But I guess that's just the way they go, you know? I guess we're going to get a drink. Need something hard. We're going to do that. And just a minute. And she's going to make the drink. And yeah, we're making it through the story. This is basically the main introduction still. Just getting into the main parts that are important. And of course, we're more concerned about the money rather than the actual mission. And of course, Tifa always asks if Cloud is doing okay. But we're gonna go to the pinball machine and we're gonna go all the way down. Because that is a nifty hideout. I want a hideout that has a pinball machine that just elevates you down with an elevator. So, this is where we start getting into the main portion of the story where they're asking him if we dealt with anybody in Soldier. Soldier is basically this military based soldier that is amplified, and they're very strong apparently, and Cloud thinks he's one of them, but that could be also debated later on. So we're gonna go upstairs and we're gonna talk about money, and of course we're having a debate here. And yeah, apparently he doesn't care about Shinra or Soldier, so he's gonna head on up. Nor does he care about Avalanche or the planet either. So I guess Cloud is still being cold at the very beginning of the game. I guess we'll find out how that turns out as we progress through the story. So we're about to leave, and of course Tifa stops us from leaving because apparently they made a promise of some sort at the very beginning when they were like children. And yeah, and she's supposed to be his childhood friend before they actually went off to the Mako reactors and whatnot. So yeah, the promise. She's gotta remember everything. So we gotta use some options here. But it's a neat story so far. And of course, yeah, this is how we introduce these characters, you know? I mean, it's basically developing depth in the story, but also it's part of the setting, so it's very essential. And so we're at the well. This part takes a little while because they make a promise and the shooting stars and whatnot. But yeah, but that's still all the setting of the story, but we haven't really got into the strategies yet because the strategies come in after the fact. And the strategies are very essential for the beginning portion of the game for beginners and even for the professionals to use. And of course, they also introduce Sephiroth at one moment or another, but it takes a little while for them to develop the character. He's kind of a mystery guy at the beginning. Not much in terms of detail, but yeah. But we'll develop Sephiroth later on because he's just being introduced at the moment by just a story that Cloud tells through a memory, really. And of course, if you get really famous in Emerald Vine, you come save me, and we obviously make the promise, and obviously we try to rescue her as much as possible, obviously throughout the story, but do we really keep the promise? That's the real debate here later on. But anywho, there's the shooting star, and now we're moving on to the next part of the story, which is the strategy, and I like the strategy part. Now, in the beginning of this particular area, you have to go to the beginner hall. If you skip it, you're gonna be in deep trouble later on. I would recommend going to the beginner hall immediately after this conversation ends. And we just get the gil, 1,500 gil. And we are going to be going to the beginner hall as soon as possible at this point because this conversation ends basically very quickly, basically starting out the next mission instantly, and it makes you want to keep going with the game, but I'm not going to follow the game. I'm going to follow my own gut instincts here and the guides that I know of to actually get this part done properly. So, we wake up the next day, and we're going to go on to the pinball machine here. And we are essentially going to skip the materia portion of it because I do understand how to use materia pretty well. Materia basically grows in levels. So once you master a materia, it divides, oddly enough, according to the original rules of this particular game. I don't know if they've changed that over the years in a different game, quote unquote rebirth, but I guess we'll stick with the rules that are on this game at the moment. And of course, they leave Marlene at the bar. I don't understand how that's being responsible, but okay then. Anywho, we're moving on up. We're gonna go to the shop for materia in here first, and then we'll be heading over to the beginner hall. Now, make sure you buy a fire materia and a restore materia because the restore materia is very handy. I buy fire because it's another element that I don't have at my disposal. So we're going to buy fire here and restore. I do like restore. Restore is very useful, especially for beginners and just in general. We're just going to buy that with the leftover money, and we'll be set to go with 2 fire materials and 1 restore. Alright. So now we are going to equip all this materia over to the characters. We're going to equip restore. Of course, we have an option here with the armor. The armor is very important. I recommend getting the more important stuff later. I will cite which ones to get, but I'm going to equip the fire materia. But now we're going to go to the beginner hall where we get something very useful in the story. Move, please. Thank you. So, I'm going to go in here inside the beginner hall. And now we're going to go over to the right of this area right here. And that's where we collect the all materia. Very useful to have in general. I recommend that materia firsthand. And of course, we collect an ether, which is also very useful for recovering MP. So we're gonna save the game. But before we save the game, I want to equip the all materia to my menu before I do anything. I think I just hit save by mistake. We're going to equip it to the character. We're gonna get rid of this, put all, so now we can restore the entire party instantly. He has cure as well, so we're gonna do that. And Tifa, I'm gonna give her lightning or fire. One of the, I think we'll go with bolt. But restore materia is very useful to heal up your characters, but also to do other hidden abilities as well later on in the story. I highly recommend that particular materia for beginners as well as professionals. And I guess we'll save the game, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Saving the game is what I do best.